Welcome you back to another episode of the missing episodes of Sleepy Hollow. Last time, we have actually dealt with the Horsemen of War, as well as the Blood Moon rising. And Gavin Lucas was actually close to being in a trance and killing Ichabod and the new chief of the Onondagas, Chief Falcalor. But fortunately, a falcon came down and carried a holy relic. And with that, Gavin's mind was restored, but unfortunately, it caused the horsemen to flee, but it wasn't able to resolve Ichabod's damnation. Yeah, what a shame. Also, we're not quite sure what that ox horn is that one of Jenny's artifact hunters, Donnie Wu, has found. But the revelations still continue. So with that out of the way, let's get on with the show, shall we? Alright, Chapter 7. Down with the Sickness. Of course, the title was a homage to the Disturbed hit of the same name, as well as the debut album it's from. Sorry if the Horsemen may seem to be out of order, but I'm sure the series cleared it up already. And as the name implies, warning, this chapter contains some disgusting, disturbing content that may not be suited for certain readers. Viewer discretion is advised. Gavin was starting to unpack his belongings and supplies. The team helped him out, especially Jake and Alex, who knew exactly where to put his things, including the food he brought along. They already managed to install a 5-ton Maytag freezer and fridge combo that could house products that'd feed a large group of people for weeks. They also installed a generator in case the power should go out during the upcoming apocalypse, which could last up to 3 weeks if the electricity is conserved. The dry and non-perishable items can even be stored in a huge pantry before guests can access to the library itself. He also saved a lot of light and heavy clothing, along with a few pillows and blankets, some electronics including his laptop, a flashlight, some spare batteries, his iPod and iHome, several movies and games, and portable game systems. And also some possessions he knew that couldn't be replaced, like his figurines, his photo albums, and scrapbook. The process itself wasn't quite new to him, since he remembered well of his escape from his old life, especially from his lethal guardian, Lolita. During Gavin's move-in, Jenny, Jake, Alex, and Ichabod were discussing the next Horsemen, while Diana and Laura were still gathering theirs and Molly's belongings. For now, the young prodigy was with the surgeon, keeping him company. She still couldn't believe her father was gone, and that the everlasting eclipse was so foreboding. It's unbelievable how something so beautiful could be so deadly. It must be really bad, as if the 3 stricken white trees weren't gruesome enough. It was sort of a good thing to preserve the memory when he noticed her amazing sketch within her notebook. He explained one unleashed lightning, the second brought blood hail, and the third resurrected Moloch's army, but the 4th one was never burnt. I can't imagine what it can mean. At least they're not as bad as what's ahead. In one of my visions, Mr. Crane said that the 4th represents the Horsemen of Death. Maybe that's when he'll get his head back and raise his comrades. I guess it has already been struck since Ichabod and I saw him with his head. But... Gavin hesitated. Molly wondered what was the matter. He flashed back to the time when the witnesses Ichabod and Abby told him of their confrontation with Pestilence in the lost colony of Roanoke, which is the episode John Doe. The late Mel's sister once said that her solution on beating it and the plague was to use holy water after seeing an elderly woman touch a basin at the church near the emergency unit. It was its goal to spread the plague from the distant past to modern-day Sleepy Hollow, where it'd be resurrected, although its identity at the time was unknown. Until recently. Then he paused again. There was also this voice I kept hearing. Every second I feel stronger, like I'm leaving my body and becoming something more. Molly recalled it as a premonition, though the source of the voice was unseen yet familiar. Molly, there's something that I need to tell you. I know you admire Logan MacDonald so much, but this was harder to say than he realized. She pondered for a bit and connected the dots, memorizing the message. Logan was one of the Horsemen of the Apocalypse. Although she wasn't devastated like Gavin presumed, it was him all along. Although it wasn't the Logan that Gavin knew from YouTube fame, this one in particular was a celebrity in his 20s and admired by tweens around the world. Again, from Sickburn. In addition, he was a pictogrammer and he obtained legendary status that was nearly as much as Justin Bieber. A few weeks back during a convention, she took a selfie with him and he later collapsed. The only clue was his arm glowing much like the Freemason's pentagram, he said. Logan was responsible for the outbreak of the fire flu while he released a video from his pictogram account with a computer biological virus as part of its coding. It was just what Gavin feared since he was a young kid. Ugh, me too. Monster known as the Jinn inflicted the disease on anonymous people, including Alex, then luring him to a den where their victims were gathered and lulled by his voice. Although it was killed by electrocution, Logan just became a full-fledged member of Malcolm's army just for the fame and glory of it all. Typical celebrities, always thinking about the limelight and can get away with just about anything. Calling the S9 characters he saw in the insane marathons. Jenny arrived and she requested Gavin to go with her so they can get their fathers, a couple of the last-minute refugees they were planning to retrieve. But that means they need time to pack. Time's against us. I've alerted my dad a week ago. He's ready. You talked to your dad about it too, remember? Yeah, but he refused to listen. We won't know for sure unless we go there ourselves. Thinking there was no possible way he'd believe him, not even when he supported his interests before. Just then, there was an irritating alarm. I wish I had the sound effect for that. Iron bars slammed in front of the open doors and windows. Red alert! We have intruders approaching. From the surveillance, there were several figures that seemed subhuman and looked like members of the undead. They possessed very blanched bodies with their veins protruding from their skin. Their eyes were also gouging out of their faces, and they were completely incoherent. Stay here, Molly. We got monsters to fight. Gavin almost immediately jumped to his feet and gathered his weapons. Jake and Alex stayed put while the rest of the group ran to the fray. He, Jenny, and Ichabod emerged outside the main hall, and the witness prompted, "Get ready when they enter that rise." Now! Against the stampede, while some ran over their fallen compatriots, they were using the usual weapons for long distance, such as the Freemason's crossbow, Jenny's rifle, and Gavin's lighter, of all things. He figured it was the best way to obliterate the abhorrent atrocities since their bodies were nearly buck naked, as their only clothing was their soggy, rotten underpants. Pun intended, you'll see later. At times, the swarm was too much, so they had to resort to close combat. Ichabod avoided contact using his own replica of Delilah's dagger, as did Jenny. Gavin wielded the usual, the Demon Slayer and iron arm blades. Combustions and the enhanced weapon were the most effective tools. At one point, Gavin was struck down. He used his blade as a crutch while he stood up. As he stabbed it to the ground floor, however, something amazing happened. The tip illuminated neon blue and the crutch created a shockwave, stopping the disgusting draugrs in their tracks as their bodily fluids were oozing out from every possible aperture and groaning non-stop. As everyone made the final blows to immobilize the infestation, the conflict was over. Just the way I like them. Dumb and ugly. Piece of cake. Pardon? Well, it was easy for me. Yeah, whatever, Firebrand. What is it with you guys? We're standing, they're not. What more do you want? All clear, y'all. There was a sudden uproar in the air. The trio looked up suddenly, and they belonged to flocks of hawks and falcons. They descended sharply, letting out some screeches, and began to eat the leftover corpses. Blah! Ew! blacksmith's Jenny. They're with the Onondagas. Oh, they're definitely gonna get sick and carry whatever disease they have. Ugh, they are horrible scavengers. In a walkie-talkie, Crane ordered Jake and Alex to allow access for the other escapees. He obliged while the bars were lifted and Jenny led them to the secret tunnels below, hopefully it'd be a more discreet route. It had not been easy while they had to cover themselves as they followed and trekked through chains of dense forests. The team watched the Onondagas file in via the tunnels. They were escorted by Jake and Alex. Gotta hand it to Crane. He sure knows his plants. That's our Brownbeard, referring to the name he gave him when they first met. Soon enough, he emerged from the crowd. Mr. Wells, how are we progressing? So far, so good. The evacuation is going very smoothly. The chief said it took 6 days for the Onondagas to flee southwest from Basin Falls to Washington. Great. I want to let Falklore know they can find shelter within the vault. Jenny and Gavin are heading back to Sleepy Hollow so they can round up the remaining stragglers. Don Lucas. Can we trust him? Gavin has said he was quite stern when he described what's at stake. I believe him he refused the offer. Switching gears, Agency 35's head honcho realized there was a connection between the grunts he faced and the Horsemen. The engineer and archivist couldn't agree more. Much like war, Pestilence had grown in immense strength and covered the underdeveloped countries in severe illness. As pointed out by the duo, they feared that severe diseases like Ebola, cholera, and dengue flu, or probably in this case the coronavirus, would soon hit the states if he's not stopped. Ichabod figured that the virtues may serve as protection, though others may not be as fortunate. They may be resistant to lingering diseases, but with pestilence directly, they're not invincible. Another sign could be Molly's school getting affected about a week ago. According to the former history professor, the enemy was also known as conquest. Much like bacteria is to divide and conquer. Jake intervened while he grabbed and displayed a painting of all 4 beasts. Ichabod went on the pestilence, wielded a bow and arrow. White Horse's rider is said to possess poisonous arrows that can inflict disease, and a quiver that can hold all existent germs. Seen wearing a crown that's supposed to symbolize victory. Jake beamed as he summarized the secret weapons, the Holy Water Super Soakers. The ideas were from him and Molly, and he hoped her friends would also pitch in as well. I don't know if they would want to, Black Panther. They're just kids, and their parents won't be convinced with the whole end of the world scenario. At least hopefully they'll give their super soakers to her. Well, one friend Kendra did. Diana and Laura emerged, holding handfuls of supplies. Blah, blah, blah. Diana mentioned that she had some of those hard crackers as the military eats them a lot and people can stay full longer. The agents immediately got to work. As Ichabod recapped the events of the female pair, Jake suddenly got a call on his cell. Picked it up and received a message from a weeping woman. From the reception, he was at a stalemate. Alex whispered what was wrong, and he just announced that Missy was pronounced dead by a severe chronic illness. For now, it was unknown, but theorized as cholera. Or I should probably put coronavirus to stay relevant, but... As Jake cried, Alex held him close, reassuring him that she was a good friend to him, and no matter what, she'll remain close to his side. Crane concluded that Jake's girlfriend Missy could be a demonstration that the situation is serious. Testament to the Horsemen's strength. Those words, the engineer literally sucked it up and vowed revenge. I swear, for Missy. Ugh. Dan, I swear, for Missy, I will destroy that bastard Logan MacDonald, one way or another. Meanwhile, the avatar covered in a lightless sheet of metal rode up on a giant white steed. He reached down and snatched up a few strands of grass which decayed in his clutch. Then he blew into it and the spread pieces soared within the wind. His handsome, though malevolent face was revealed. Fame, fortune and glory is within my grasp. I hope I did the accent right. Ugh. Looking at McDonald's kind of vague. You only see him like once. And Sickburn. Back in Sleepy Hollow, Jenny and Gabby were in the camper. They were heading to the ranch house Gavin's dad owned. They came across a nearby church. The parking lots and the curb were crowded by fearful Christians and the like. It was very familiar to Gavin, as he and Ichabod had been there while the city was being tainted by Gospodor. If you've seen Darkness Rising, you should know this. The church had a wooden exterior showing a large cross above the two red doors. The sergeant noticed that his father was part of a large crowd. He was 6 feet tall. Blah, all that junk. Ezra was just near him, assisting him while unpacking luggage from the trunk of his dark purple Durango. Gavin's face lit up. Dad! He ran toward the group with Jenny right behind him. Dad? Why are you here? Ezra was just wearing army clothing minus the cap, and he was surprised to see both Gavin and Jenny show up. Jenny, Gavin. I figured you'd be in Washington when all this travesty is going on. Gavin's father, Don Lucas, was just speechless, seeing his son again after so long. We want you to come with us, Dad. You and Don. Instead, Gavin just walked up to them. His father was at a loss for words. Gavin? I thought I'd never see you again since the day you left. Lita said she was. I know. I'm glad to see you too. Why are you doing this? On the phone you said you didn't want to believe me. Ezra explained he actually helped Don to evacuate, but not to D.C. Instead, they have agreed to relocate to the church. He wanted to take Gavin's word, just not to travel so far away. Knelt down to his only son. Gavin, I'm sorry. His eyes were sparkling. I'm sorry for everything. For never standing up to you. For not believing in you. I can get very weak, even after your mom died. And you understand you never wanted to forgive me. Just as Ezra didn't expect to be forgiven. But with Lolita gone, I was a free man again. I couldn't find you. You were estranged from me. I always wanted to take it back since you were my only child. I couldn't bear to lose you too. You were always passionate of the supernatural when Lolita wouldn't allow it. You were born loving it, and it became your greatest interest. And for what Ezra told me, you used all this knowledge, the way you always wanted to. I see now for who you truly are, just like your friends. Again. So sorry. Don burst into tears. The young soldier eventually hugged him, safe and warm in their arms. Another family reunited. I couldn't agree more. I've always believed in the two of you when you went to D.C. You found Crane and a new witness, and now you must set the world right again. Sophie told me everything about your progress. She's waiting inside, and she gave me this. Copy of our journal. Two men parted, and he saw the seven-sided crystal light up on the back of her hand. The virtue of faith. After seeing it, he was hopeful they'll succeed, and that Jenny finally has what it takes to fulfill her family line where Lori and Abby failed. She had gotten stronger after her escape from Terrytown, and she hadn't been spiritually tormented. Don believed in his son that he can do anything if he sets his mind to it, just as he did when he moved away. They both admitted they were weak. Ezra ran away instead of helping Lori, just as Don never protected him. They realize they're aging and they're proud of their only offspring. Whatever happens to them, they're certainly optimistic that Gavin, Jenny, and their friends can and will make a difference. Ezra has warned them that all four of the white trees have been burned. As of today, there is nothing to hold back the Great Tribulation, and people must accept the horror before them. They'd be safe since they're protected by the grace of God and by the hallowed ground. Regardless, it meant it's entirely up to them to save the world and end the calamities, eradicating the evil. Excuse me, are you Gavin Lucas? The Reverend walked out and recognized him from the encounter a few summers back. He recalled him being with his friend, the witness, Ichabod, and obtaining a small canister of holy water. again from darkness rising. He said he heard of their plight from Sophie and he offered them some holy grenades, led them to a font near the entrance, and offered them to cleanse from the impurities if they should come across Pestilence. The priest recalled a few years back that another one of his own was slew by a horseman with no head. Because of that incident, he knew there was war coming. It's already here. On one side, he said that holy water is kept in a font, which is typically located at either the entrance to the church or sometimes in a separate room or building called the baptistery. He showed them the other room, the same one where Gavin and Ichabod slept in. They were both all out of the main room. He stated similar vessels known as stopes were usually placed at the entrances to enable people to sprinkle themselves with it upon entering. In recent years, with the concerns over disease, new holy water machines that work like automatic soap dispensers have become popular. I actually wished we had those, to be honest, like anywhere. In the Middle Ages, the power of holy water was considered so great that in some places, fonts had locked covers to prevent theft of holy water for dark magic practices. Since 1236, constitutions of Archbishop Edmund Rich clearly stated that fonts are to be kept under lock and key because of witchcraft. Whew, good thing Katrina never used it. In Catholicism, holy water is never allowed to be disposed of. Openly exposed fonts can be prone to disease. Our agents Jake and Alex need holy water to fend off pestilence. I see, but they can't extract it without permission from the Archbishop. We may have to split up and find abandoned churches to obtain the sacred liquid. Perhaps only the witnesses can have access. So it is true. Ichabod's not the only one. They should take it. I'll alert the guys when we get a move on. Thanks for everything, Father. By the time they made their goodbyes and drove back to the nation's capital, Gavin made the calls immediately. Dusk had fallen with the blood moon once again, and Diana noticed that little by little there were some kids that were getting sick. Some of the birds of prey were also hit hard after they had their lunch with the remains from the undead corpses. Head of Homeland Security and Ichabod realized they had come down with various diseases like the measles, the mumps, and the like. Eventually, Molly was having constant coughing spells and her throat was getting rather sore. Despite the misery, Laura was also feeling it, and she was worried that she may die if her past vessel should perish. She was trying her best to mask the situation. Then Ichabod's left arm began to have a burning, itching feeling. He figured the Horsemen of Pestilence had started his deathly ride through the city, infecting the citizens, including the president. Without hesitation, he immediately gathered his weapons and ordered Diana to keep an eye on the fort. Meanwhile, Jake and Alex have been going from church to church throughout the city in order to get a large supply of holy water. So far, they had no luck, as nearly every one of them were packed with more anxious, paranoid stragglers, and their reverends have downright refused them to steal their secret liquid. By twilight, they had almost given up until they stumbled upon an abandoned site. Apparently, it was dated back to the Salem witch trials, and through a quick search, they found an open font. Out of desperation and relief, they dunked in their massive water guns into it, draining all its contents. They've actually weighed twice as much. When they were done usurping the only accessible font, which was close to the entrance, Jake was still hell-bent on stopping Pestilence, Logan MacDonald, in order to avenge Missy. But lo and behold, as they trekked away from hollow ground, "I've been waiting for you, Jake and Alex." "You!" His temperature rising rapidly with his deep hatred. "You were the one that murdered Missy! I'll break you for this!" Alex pointed her weapon at Logan, sitting proudly on his new steed. "Heh! You think you can stop me? I am one of the Horsemen now. Was so thrilled that my late master Dreyfus gave me this grand opportunity. I now have some allies who admire me. They have been my brothers and sister, if you will. We have been partying for weeks as we can do whatever we want and corrupt the world dark. Fame and glory has never been this easy. Pestilence!" As if it can't get any better. The witness that made a deal with the devil has arrived. Molly, the Onondagas, and millions of other innocent lives are suffering thanks to you. Don't be foolish, Crane. After all, you wouldn't want to rush your death and be damned for eternity, would you? I wouldn't waste my own life to save countless innocents if I were you. Easy for you to say. We have family and friends who care for us and need our help. It's quite selfish of you since your palooza has gone over your head. Jealous, I see. Everyone began to have a high fever affecting their concentration and vitals. I've never had this much fun. My pictograms are gonna skyrocket since I'm one of the world's powerful generals. Their symptoms worsened, so we're even hurling blood. So with Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, I don't have to pay a cent for services no more. The best things in life really are free. I will embrace and walk across the land with no consequences. And I am not alone! Just think, yeah! Gavin made his sneak attack. Demon Slayer illuminated a bright blue and he stabbed it to the ground, causing another shockwave, stalling the Blanche horse. Logan unloaded his poisonous arrows from his quiver using his telekinesis, but Ichabod struck back with his silver darts, making the steed reel a few times. Pestilence was surrounded and also absorbed the holy water from Jake's super soaker. Apparently it was ineffective and contaminated, making Pestilence grow stronger as he sneered. He realized it was from a contaminated fawn. Jenny threw in one of the holy grenades. As a result, Pestilence squealed in agony as his face looked it was sizzling. The left side had pieces of skin fly off. Then he fell off his horse, which dissolved from beneath him. It almost looked as if he was soaked in acid. Seeing he was weak, Gavin cried as he charged in. Unfortunately, he slipped away with some thin black smoke before they had the chance to finish him off. Wait, what? Get back here! No! No! Are you kidding me? He began to cuss as he slammed down his weapon like a pissed batter. Damn it! Son of a... Could have waited a few seconds. I would have had him. Felt a breeze as the ominous dark green thin cloud soared away from the battlefield. The Onondagas! Back at the vault tunnels, the children became more paler, as did Molly and Laura. Diana calmed her coughs, pains, and rising fever the best she could, while Laura could only watch her past vessel in agony from a distance. She was amazed to see her former self, but also worried as she got a small taste of her ailments. If anything should happen to her. By the time Jenny, Gavin, and the others came back, Cross was extracted into the nearby cistern. It took a few minutes to take effect, making the liquid sparkle and glimmer as it whitened and bubbled like a seltzer. The other refugees, and even Kendra and the Onondaga kids, succumbed to the worst of it, even their own pets. The team decided that Jenny, the holder of faith, should perform a baptism. One of the ill children took off his clothes and Alex enclosed them in a vacuum-sealed bag. After he stepped in, Jenny took out the cross, reached down and cupped the water in her hands, and poured it over his head. The liquid trickled down his body, and even he began to glimmer. From the reaction, it worked as the child smiled. Everyone cheered. Then Molly and the other children dove in and bathed in the cistern. Later, the adults and animals took their turns. One by one, they were full with glee as they were rejuvenated and healed by the holy water. Gavin realized that people can be protected from disease and evil if they're exposed, at least for the moment, since Pestilence and War gave Team Witness the slip. After succumbing to the brief sudden yellow fever, Jake decided to get himself a drink. Alex went with him and she assured him that they'll defeat Logan and his associates together, as long as he could keep his head on. Well, came to my mind a little too late that Jake's a germophobic. Jake was a bit relieved by the pun of headless. While at the sink outside the library, something was odd and smelt bitter. The water was not the same as the faucet ran a dark amber liquid, like at Dante's Peak. He thought what was wrong with it. Ichabod approached the agents just as thirsty, and even he noticed the rancid odor. He gave him the glass and took a gander. It just came from the sink. I'm not sure how the reservoir would be defected this quickly. If that's the case, then it will eventually affect the water supply here and later throughout the nations. Only 1/3 of the planet's water would turn brown and bitter, and a great star will fall as the angel sounds the third trumpet. What is it? Wood. The Great Tribulation continues. Even though war and pestilence have scampered, the world really was at a greater stake now. Much like us, Budor have been using another reference from the non-canon fic Darkness Rising, in this case the church. In case you don't know, this was Gavin's first time being in one. And I'm not religious, much like him. There are the songs for that. The Logan that Gavin admired was actually none other than a YouTuber that I really like, Fockle's Minion, aka Logan Adkins. My all-time favorite YouTuber and countdown artist. The idea of using holy water as a weapon and disease cleanser was actually based off of Season 1's episode John Doe in Roanoke. Abby discovered this, and since she, Ichabod, and the lost boy Thomas were submerged in a well, pestilence dissipated above them, which meant the boy and the colony received from Pestilence's infestation, and the well was holy. So the agents and Ichabod decided to use it against him, while Molly and Jake had the plan to use holy water and super soakers. I thought that was a brilliant idea. Technique that Gavin just came across was based on the Quake move made by Fox's staff from my all-time favorite installment, Star Fox Adventures. And this was a scene used in order to cure the doomed refugees. It was inspired by a scenario by Final Fantasy VII Advent Children. Not a huge fan of 7, but I thought the movie was pretty good. Complete or nothing. Instead of reversing the geostigma, it was the perfect way to cure the escapees from illness throughout the vault. Missy was yet another sacrificial lamb for the story, as well as having her death in the limelight. Seriously, I hardly remember her other than being known as Jake's girlfriend. I hated her as she was expendable, has a bad purpose to the plot, has no point on being there in the first place, as well as being a roadblock in Jake's relationship with Alex. In all hindsight, they are the true parent. Once again, I'm sorry if the fic is confusing, intermixing the tribulations. Another chapter is done, and I believe that I'll be working on Famine next, which, as you see here. See you, sleepyheads. Till then, this is the Ecron Writer signing out, and I want to warn you of what the zombie-like creatures they were facing. As I said before, I warned you this would have disgusting content. Which, by the way, is from Phantom Strider's Top 10 Worst Cartoons of All Time. 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah. The Brothers Grunt, aka, as I like to call them, the Soldiers of Sickness. Yeah, that is bad. I use them for punching bags or destroying bags or whatever. So, there you have it. Till next time, sleepyheads. And please don't be traumatized by that.